I still remember the exact moment everything changed, because it wasn't supposed to. It was just another ordinary evening, another careless joke thrown into the air like a paper airplane. But this one didn't fall. It landed straight into the center of my life and rewrote everything I thought I knew about love, friendship, and the quiet truths we hide from ourselves. Before we dive in, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of love that grows in silence, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You never know who might need this story today. Her name was Hannah Carter, and she had been my best friend for almost 8 years. We met back in college in Portland, Oregon, during a chaotic group project that neither of us wanted to be part of. I was the guy who showed up late with coffee stains on my shirt, and she was the one who had already organized everything down to color-coded notes. Somehow, we balanced each other perfectly. What started as mild annoyance turned into late-night study sessions, then inside jokes, and eventually a bond that felt unbreakable. After graduation, life didn't separate us the way it usually does with people. We both stayed in Portland. I got a job as a freelance graphic designer, struggling through inconsistent paychecks and long nights. Hannah became a pediatric nurse, working exhausting shifts but always showing up with that same calm strength that made people trust her instantly. We didn't talk every day, but we never needed to. She was just there, a constant in a world that kept shifting under my feet. The problem with constants is that you stop questioning them. You assume they'll always be there. That evening we were sitting on the hood of my car, parked near the edge of a quiet overlook that faced the city lights. It was one of our spots. Nothing fancy, just a place where we could breathe and talk about everything or nothing at all. The air was cool, and Hannah had her usual oversized sweater on, sleeves covering half her hands. She looked tired but peaceful. We had been joking around about how all our friends were getting married, settling down, posting picture-perfect lives on social media. I remember laughing, half sarcastic, half bitter, and saying that maybe we should just get it over with, too. It felt like one of those throwaway lines, something you don't even think about twice. Then I said it. I asked her to marry me. Not seriously, not planned. Just a joke, wrapped in laughter, meant to drift away like everything else we said that night. But she didn't laugh. She turned toward me slowly, and there was something in her eyes I had never seen before. Something deep, something vulnerable. And then she said the words that made my chest tighten in a way I couldn't explain. She told me she thought I would never ask. For a second, I honestly thought she was continuing the joke. But her voice, it wasn't playful, it wasn't light. It carried years of something unspoken, something I had somehow missed despite knowing her better than anyone else. My smile faded, and the silence that followed felt heavier than anything I had ever experienced. That was the moment everything began to unravel. I didn't know what to say. My mind scrambled for something, anything, that could bring us back to safety, back to the comfort of just friends. I laughed awkwardly, trying to brush it off, telling her I was kidding. I expected her to do the same, to meet me halfway and pretend none of it mattered. But she didn't. She just nodded, quietly, and looked back at the city lights. And somehow, that hurt more than if she had argued. The days that followed were strange. We still talked, but something had shifted. Conversations felt shorter, more careful. The ease we once had was replaced with hesitation, like we were both stepping around something fragile we didn't know how to handle. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way she always remembered the smallest details about me. The way she showed up without being asked whenever I was struggling. The way she looked at me sometimes when she thought I wasn't paying attention. And the worst part was realizing that maybe it hadn't been one-sided. But fear is a powerful thing. I told myself I couldn't risk it. I couldn't risk losing the one person who had always been there for me. So I kept my distance emotionally, convincing myself that was the safer choice, until I almost lost her anyway. A few weeks later, Hannah stopped replying as quickly. Then she canceled plans. Then she went quiet altogether. At first I told myself she was just busy with work, but something didn't feel right. I found out from a mutual friend that she had been offered a job in San Diego, and she was seriously considering taking it. It hit me harder than I expected. The idea of her leaving, of that empty space she would leave behind in my life, felt unbearable. It wasn't just losing a friend. It felt like losing something much deeper, something I had been too blind or too scared to recognize. That night I couldn't sleep. Every memory with her replayed in my mind, but now they looked different, warmer, more meaningful. I started to see the truth I had been avoiding. I didn't just care about her, I loved her, and I had almost let her walk away because I was too afraid to admit it. The next morning, I drove straight to her apartment. My hands were shaking, my thoughts a mess, but for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what I needed to do. She opened the door, surprised to see me. There was a quiet sadness in her eyes, like she had already started preparing herself to let go. I didn't give myself time to hesitate. I told her everything. Not in perfect words, not in some grand rehearsed speech, just raw, honest truth. I told her how scared I had been, how I didn't realize what she meant to me until I thought I might lose her. I told her that my joke hadn't been real, but what I felt now was. And then I asked her again. This time, it wasn't a joke. The silence that followed felt like it stretched forever. I could hear my own heartbeat, feel every second pressing down on me. I didn't know if I was too late. Then she stepped closer, and for the first time since that night on the car hood, I saw that same look in her eyes. But this time, it wasn't uncertain. It was steady, hopeful. She said yes, not because of the joke, not because of the moment, but because somewhere along the way we had both fallen in love and just didn't know how to say it out loud. Life didn't suddenly become perfect after that. We had to relearn each other in a different way. There were awkward moments, doubts, and fears that crept in. But there was also something stronger than all of that, a foundation built on years of trust, laughter, and understanding. We weren't starting from scratch. We were building on something real. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments if you've ever realized something important just a little too late. Months later, we stood at that same overlook, but everything felt different. The city lights still shimmered in the distance, but now they felt like a backdrop to something much more meaningful. Hannah rested her head on my shoulder, and for the first time, there was no uncertainty, no unspoken feelings, just quiet, steady love. Sometimes I think about how easily I could have lost her, how one careless joke nearly cost me the most important person in my life. But maybe, in a strange way, that moment was exactly what we needed. It forced the truth into the open. It made us face what we had been too afraid to see, and in doing so, it gave us a second chance. Before we end, I have a special request for you. Comment second chances are real if you believe love sometimes just needs the right moment to be seen. Because the truth is, not every love story begins with fireworks. Some begin with friendship, with silence, with missed chances and quiet realizations. But if you're lucky, they find their way. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that sometimes the person you've been looking for has been right beside you all along.